Welcome to the Global Skill Development Council, your gateway to digital transformation. We are an independent, vendor-neutral ISO IEC 1024 accredited certification body committed to helping individuals and organizations stay future-ready in a rapidly evolving world. GSDC is accredited by the Accreditation Board for International Certification Bodies, ABICB. For 10 years, we've certified more than 100,000 professionals across Europe, North America, Asia, and Africa, with our offices in Switzerland, the United States, and Singapore. Our programs are recognized by leading publications and podcasts, including Forbes, Tech Target, People Managing People. We offer 100-plus globally accredited certifications across emerging and in-demand domains like generative AI and emerging technologies, HR and learning and development, project management and agile Scrum, ISO and quality management, information security. Each GSDC certification is designed to empower professionals with confidence and help organizations stay competitive in a fast-changing landscape. Every certification is crafted with insights from 100-plus global advisory board members representing top universities and leading industry experts. Our certified professionals are trusted by 500-plus multinational companies, which help unlock better roles, faster promotions, and delivering cutting-edge expertise. We partner with 100-plus authorized training partners and 50-plus universities, supporting talent across all career levels, from entry-level to executive leadership. As a GSDC member, you gain lifelong access to interactive webinars, hands-on workshops, SME panels, and global summits. Join a vibrant community of 25,000-plus members and be part of our global events. Check our reviews on Trustpilot. We're trusted worldwide for quality, support, and impact. Whether you're aiming higher or building tomorrow's talent, GSDC is your partner in purposeful growth and impactful leadership. Visit our website to explore our offerings. GSDC, share the best practices and learn from the best practices. Welcome to the Global Skill Development Council, your gateway to digital transformation. We are an independent, vendor-neutral ISO IEC 1024 accredited certification body committed to helping individuals and organizations stay future-ready in a rapidly evolving world. GSDC is accredited by the Accreditation Board for International Certification Bodies, ABICB. For 10 years, we've certified more than 100,000 professionals across Europe, North America, Asia, and Africa, with our offices in Switzerland, the United States, and Singapore. Our programs are recognized by leading publications and podcasts, including Forbes, Tech Target, People Managing People. We offer 100-plus globally accredited certifications across emerging and in-demand domains like generative AI and emerging technologies, HR and learning and development, project management and agile Scrum, ISO and quality management, information security. Each GSDC certification is designed to empower professionals with confidence and help organizations stay competitive in a fast-changing landscape. Every certification is crafted with insights from 100-plus global advisory board members representing top universities and leading industry experts. Our certified professionals are trusted by 500-plus multinational companies, which help unlock better roles, faster promotions, and delivering cutting-edge expertise. We partner with 100-plus authorized training partners and 50-plus universities, supporting talent across all career levels, from entry-level to executive leadership. As a GSDC member, you gain lifelong access to interactive webinars, hands-on workshops, SME panels, and global summits. Join a vibrant community of 25,000-plus members and be part of our global events. Check our reviews on Trustpilot. We're trusted worldwide for quality, support, and impact. Whether you're aiming higher or building tomorrow's talent, GSDC is your partner in purposeful growth and impactful leadership. Visit our website to explore our offerings. GSDC, share the best practices and learn from the best practices. Welcome to the Global Skill Development Council, your gateway to digital transformation. We are an independent, vendor-neutral ISO IEC 1024 accredited certification body committed to helping individuals and organizations stay future-ready in a rapidly evolving world. GSDC
Hello everyone, my name is Pratibha and I'll be your moderator today. So if at any point you have any question or if you want to know more about the GSDC, please feel free to use the chat box. And let's start with the session. I really apologize for the delay for starting the session. Just allow me a minute to share my screen. So, on behalf of the Global Skill Development Council, I'm truly delighted to welcome you all into the GSDC Studio Learning and Practice Real World Learning and Development Case Studies across industries. In this webinar, you will be unlocking the secrets behind industry leading learning and development transformation, real world case studies which you can apply in your professional life. And one of the things which make this webinar so interesting is the amazing panel of speakers we have lined up for you. Some of them have already delivered a very incredible and insightful sessions and others are all set to bring in more powerful ideas. And here's a little spoiler. So we are continuously adding more speakers into our panel to make your learning journey even more engaging and dynamic. Do you want to know how you can grab a spot? Well, hang tight till end of today's session and I'll be telling you the details then. So for those who have joined with us for the very first time, let me give you a quick introduction who we are. Global Skill Development Council is a globally recognized certification body. We have a 250,000 professionals certified with us. We are associated with 1,000 plus multinational companies and 50 plus universities worldwide. Currently, we are serving 100 plus certification in our portfolio. We are associated with 100 plus training providers and 500 plus subject matter experts. So these are the training providers who are associated with us from the Asia, Canada, Africa, Australia, Nigeria, Singapore, Korea, and many other countries. So special thanks to all training providers to helping us improving our training programs. And a very special thank you to our media partner, WordPress Hub, for all of our press releases and event releases, also to help us simplify our initiative and reach it to the wider global audience. So I just wanted to make a quick announcement that we have just launched a very unique platform called GSDC AI Studio, Lifelong Learning Initiative. In this, you will be getting the 100 plus live monthly sessions with global expert, including the 4 daily sessions, 45-minute live expert lead session for hands-on learning, sessions from global expert. You can learn directly from our AI leaders around the world, real-time practice, apply concepts immediately and get your question answered, certification ready, get the training aligned with industry standard for job ready skills. Now, do you want to know how you can get the benefit of GSDC AI Studio? Well, let me tell you. So there are 3 ways. First, you have a free 14-day access in which you will be getting the 80 plus live session per month, access to full GSTC Studio. Second, you have a GSTC lifelong membership. You will be upgrading to Pro in $109 and you will be getting the lifetime access at 80 plus live session per month, access to full GSTC Studio, free GSTC membership, access to physical event, LinkedIn profile improver. Last but not the least, we have GSTC certification plus lifetime membership. Now, participant, this offer is for a very limited time of period, so make sure you're getting the advantage of it because you will be getting a lifetime access in only $100, including the GSTC certification, all benefits of lifetime membership, personalized coaching, capstone projects plus AI tool, GSTC Copilot, competency assessment tool. So currently we are serving 100+ certification in our portfolio, which include the learning and development, HR, generative AI, agentic AI, emerging technologies, ISO lead auditor and implementer, project management in PMO, Agile DevOps and SRE, cybersecurity, digital transformation, and many more. So I am really sorry. My slide is not visible. Just please allow me a minute to share my screen. I'm really sorry for all this technical issue, participant. Just allow me another place. Meanwhile, you guys can connect with us if you have any question or if you want to know more regarding anything, or we would love to know from where you guys are watching. and you can connect our speaker today as well. Just give me a 1 minute. I'm just sorting out the issue. And yes, it's sorted out. So just let me share my screen once again. I really apologize to everyone once again. So now it's time to welcome our today's speaker, Indra Abok. So Indra Abok is a trainer, founder and organizational transformation coach at Agility for All, and she's also having 30 plus years of global transformation experience across 46 industries. Indra A Books helps organizations aligning their L&D strategies with business goals that matter. As founder of Agility for All, she is pioneered the layered learning framework that transformed training departments into strategic business partners. Her clients report 40% productivity gains and 3x faster decision making by connecting learning initiative directly to business outcomes. She is known for her practical measurement driven approach. Indra proves that great learning and development isn't about more training, it's about the right capabilities at the right time. So before handing over the virtual mic, just a quick reminder, if you have any question regarding the GSDC or initiative, or if you want to connect with Indra regarding today's session, if you have any query, please feel free to use the chat box. So once again, don't be shy, drop a quick reactions emoji and comments in the chat box so that we know you are actively listening and absorbing this insight. So with that, it's time to welcome Indra. Indra, thank you so much for coming on our platform. We are very honored to have you as our speaker. The stage is all yours.
All right, hopefully everybody can see me and hear me because I made the mistake of getting a new microphone this week, so that always brings extra challenges. And thank you for that introduction. I know the bar seems to be set pretty high now, but I do want to make sure you all are actively listening. So if you would please go to the chat and answer the question that we have in there is, where are you dialing in from today? Your living room is not the right answer. The city and country would be appropriate. And just make sure everybody's there, because when I do these sessions, they tend to be interactive. So if we get to the part where you have to interact and nobody's actually interacting, we might have a very short session today. But let me just start while you're doing that, everyone heading over to the chat. I am going to get started with sharing the presentation and making sure that we have that live as well. And if everything is working appropriately, you should be able to see my presentation. Are we able to see the presentation? Do we have that?
Yes, Indra, we are able to see that.
Lovely, because I feel like I'm talking to myself right now. All right, so the topic, as we mentioned, is aligning your learning and development strategy with your business goals. And the challenge we have with that quite often is they're seen as two different activities. And if your learning and development strategy is not intentional, then it's accidental and it's very expensive. So we want to make sure that learning and development is not seen as a side activity or a nice to have or an afterthought. We want to make sure that it is actually very intentional and that we have a strategy and a plan. So I'm going to start with a story. I'm known for storytelling, and I'm going to talk about the $1 million training mistake. I'm not going to mention names. I'm going to protect the guilty and the innocent. But a few years ago, I was working with a client and I was helping them with a digital transformation. And things got off to a bit of a rocky start because the group that brought me in about 3 weeks into this said, "Oh, wow, we didn't know there was all of this people stuff involved in a transformation." And I thought, oh boy, we are in big trouble because transformation's all about people. Despite what we think, despite all the conversations today where we can't get through a conversation without talking about AI, transformations are really about people. They're not about technology. So we were already off to a rocky start with them not recognizing that this was a people transformation, that the technology was just there to support them. But what happened next was an even bigger problem. So we were going along doing what we needed to do, bringing in the first fully remote teams, doing the transformation. But at the same time, we kept hitting blocks because every time we needed approval for something, we heard, oh, but the leaders are all in a leadership program. And after the third time I heard this, I thought, I need to ask questions. Turns out this was a 14-week, full-time leadership program that was costing the company over $1 million. And we learned that the things that they were spending a week learning, like how to ask questions in an interview, we were doing on the ground with the team in a matter of hours. And so we were accelerating at a faster rate than they were learning in their training program. And the two things were very, very disconnected. Fast forward to the end of that fiscal year, and the company laid off 400 employees. And if we think about, they spent 1.2 million on this training effort, it clearly didn't hit home or address the needs of the company if the result was then that 400 people were laid off. So there was a huge disconnect. So I call it the $1 million training mistake. But the reality is, even if we didn't have this example, 70% of employees tell us that the training they receive from their company doesn't help them do their job better. So why are we spending the money on it? And only 12% are saying that they are applying new skills that they learned in training. 12% of your investment. That's not a good return on investment, folks, even if you're not good at math skills. That's a really, really bad return on investment. So we need to learn about how we're going to close that gap. We've already started to talk about the real cost of unaligned or misaligned training, but we're also going to talk about a simple structure that you can put in place to try to level out that imbalance and start making the training that's being offered worthwhile and be bringing not only an ROI to the company, but also to the people that are taking the training. Because so often people are subjected to training instead of co-partners in the training, and we don't want that. And then I'll give you a few tools that you can use. And as we discussed at any time, if you want to put something in the chat, if you have a question, I'm really, really bad at remembering to look at the chat. So that's why we have people in the background making sure that, you know, I am doing my bit. But also use your emojis if you've got a really burning question that can't wait until the end. Then just use your emojis to raise your hand or let me know. So what is our core problem with all of this? And I don't think I'm going to say anything that is too revolutionary here that people are going to be like, oh my gosh, I've had a moment. But I think that we just kind of gloss over these things sometimes, and we really need to focus. So organizations launch programs because someone asked for training. Sometimes it's compliance training. We have to do ethics or legal training or security training, and those kinds of things are notoriously terrible programs, and people don't get anything out of them. So there's already a bad taste for what is seen as mandatory training, because it's poorly done and it yields very few results. We can show that, for example, when people have cybersecurity training, it does not reduce the number of cybersecurity incidents in-house in a company. So why are we doing this training? But let's say this quiet part out loud. Training is often used as a distraction away from the actual problem. So we have a problem, something's happening, and somebody says, well, maybe we just need to get people more training. And we send them off to training. But it never actually fixes the problem because we're not addressing that underlying problem. We're just sort of jumping over it. So the cost is lost time because you're sending people to training programs that aren't landing, that aren't helping them. Lower performance because now they've been forced to go to training and they don't understand why or what they were doing or what they were getting out of it. And then eventually we have turnover because at the end of the day, if people don't feel supported, they're going to go find somewhere that fits better for them. And, you know, people like to say, oh, well, they left because they got more money. No, that's usually just a side benefit. People rarely leave in professional jobs only because they're going to get more money. They leave because they're not supported. And so if training is just compounding that problem, we need to fix that. We need to make sure that that money that we're spending is benefiting the company and benefiting the people so that they feel like they want to stay because they're supported and they're developing. So, what is the problem we're trying to solve? And anybody that's worked with me or even followed me on social media knows that I am constantly saying, what is the problem we're trying to solve? Answer that question, and you are already miles ahead of people who are not taking the time to be clear on what it is. So we need to know the goals of the company at the top. It is amazing to me how many times people in the middle or below do not actually understand the vision or the mission of the company. Maybe they've read something on the website, but they don't actually know at the core what it is that we're trying to achieve. And then name the real problem. What needs to change so that we are aligning the training with the problem we're trying to solve? And then match the skills to the actual need. Now, later I'm going to tell you a technique that I use, that how we do that. How do we know what the skills are and how do we match them? But for right now, just keep those things in mind. What are the goals? What's the problem we're trying to solve? And what are the gaps? What are the needs that we have? So now's the point where I find out if there's anybody out there in the world. If you go to slido.com and you type in the number 2606540, which you should be able to see on your screen, I have a question for you. What percentage of your learning programs tie directly to your top business goals? And do not include those things that I told you, like the ethics trainer, cybersecurity training, etc., because those are kind of must-haves and they don't count. So what percentage of your learning programs tie directly to your top business goals? And I'm going to give you just a few seconds to go and answer that because I know you all need to get to slido.com and type in 2606540. And if there's nobody out there, I'll just answer the question myself.
Participant, I have shared the slido.com
Thank
scanner
you.
and the code into the chat as well. If you're not able to get it, please. Thank you, Indra.
All right, I'm going to give you all another 30, 40 seconds since this is an easy one. And if nobody answers it, I'm going to give you the answer. All right, while you're doing that, think about the types of training that you have in your company. Okay. All right, so I'm going to give you the answer. The answer is less than 25%. Oh, we got somebody that's an overachiever here with 51 to 75%. But the answer for most companies is less than 25%. And the reason for that is because they don't actually have a way to tie learning and development to the goals, the vision, and the mission. And I work with a lot of companies in the US. You can tell by my accent that I am from the US originally. I work with a lot of companies in the US who say, oh, well, but we give every employee, put in a number, $3,000 or, $1,000, whatever, for training, and they can take whatever they want. And that sounds very altruistic and like, oh, look at that benefit. They're giving them money for training. But if I don't know as the employee what is expected of me, and I say, oh, I've got this money and I might as well do training, so I'm going to do something that interests me, then they're doing things that benefit them, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it's not tying back to the company. And so therefore, the company's not realizing those benefits, which means then in return, it's a big vicious cycle because the employee's not benefiting either. Okay. So layered learning, and I hate the word framework, but here we are. So learning needs to be, there's multiple layers to learning. We need what the organization needs, what the individual departments or divisions need, what the teams need, and what the individuals need. And those things can't be in isolation. Okay. So that's why we have to understand the vision and the mission of the company, and we have to know what are the problems that we're trying to solve so that the training that we come up with is aligned. One of the things that I do with goal setting for teams is because I hate annual performance reviews. They waste almost as much time and money as poorly planned learning and development. But one of the things that I do with a lot of companies when I do this is we come up with goals for the team that are rooted in the vision and the mission of the company and the values of the team. And so we've had teams that have done learning and development that they've started a book club. Okay, they didn't have to go to a class. There were things that they all wanted to learn together. And I'm not talking about reading romance novels. I'm talking about business related material that was going to help them do their jobs. Things about ways of working, things about leadership, even in technical teams, coding languages. So they chose one of their learning and development goals was to have this book club and to learn together. I've had teams that have come up with a value statement for their team, and all of their learning and development for that year was around that value statement. And so when they do that, those are their department and their team goals. And then individuals were able to add on what they wanted to personally learn. So maybe they had this value statement, they had these goals. And somebody said, well, you know what? I'm not the best at X. So I'm going to do a bit of extra work on X. And it doesn't, again, have to be a technical thing. It could be working on your leadership skills. It could be working on your communication skills. It could be working on your writing skills. It could be all kinds of things that support the goal of the organization. But we have to have these 4 layers. We have to make sure that any training and development that we do is addressing all of the layers of the organization. So what does that look like? At the organizational level, we need to confirm the vision and mission. And again, lots of companies put it on the website. Not everybody understands what it means. I used to tell people that so often those vision and mission statements are just word salad. Now they're word salad written by AI. So they're not getting better. Okay, they're just churning out buzzwords and jargon that people can't sink their teeth into. They can't get a hold of it and they don't understand what they're supposed to do with it. So really, really embracing that tangible vision and mission at the company and then setting goals that help guide people. Okay, so tying that all together from the very beginning. At the department and team level, then what are the functional skills that we need? Okay. What are I hate the word soft skills, but I'm going to use it because people recognize it. What are the soft skills and the hard skills that we need as an organization in our department or our division to excel, to be able to reach our goals? Okay. And then teams also, again, I mentioned the value-based goals, setting their own value-based goals so that they know from their identity as a team what they need to do to grow. And then lastly, we have individuals setting their own goals that aren't off, oh, I'm going to take basket weaving 101, or I'm going to take a real estate class when our company builds cyber tools. It's how am I going to enhance my own experience so that I'm contributing to not only my personal development goals of where I want to go in my career, but how am I going to also enhance and accelerate what's happening in my team? And if those layers are all tied together, then we start to see how this all kind of gels. Okay, does that make sense to everybody? All right. So I'm a bit nervous to ask y'all to participate again because you didn't do great on the last one. Let's see if we do better because this one's even more crazy than the last one. What is the biggest barrier to alignment between learning and development initiatives and business goals where you work? Now, this is word art, so it's going to be a big blank blue page if nobody writes anything, and I'm going to have to get creative again. But just 1 or 2 words. What are some barriers to that connection? What's holding you back, or what feels like it's a blocker from these things happening? I'm very encouraged to see someone is typing because I don't know how to change all my screens for me to do the typing to make a pretty picture. No communication. I think we could just make that one in big letters, right? So keep going, keep typing in things, but communication is a huge one. And again, it's because we often see learning and development as a side activity. Okay, I would even say that a lot of times the things that happen in human resources end up being side activities. Okay, buy-in, difference in values, resistance to truth. Oh, because sometimes we don't want to hear the truth. But yeah, a difference in values, and that's why we need to do that layered approach, because we need to align those values. And if at the end of the day we can't do that, we got to question what is happening in this organization, because it's a bit more toxic than anybody might want to believe, and it's a bigger problem than learning and development. Yeah, resistance to change. Do you know that people don't actually resist change? They resist uncertainty. They resist not knowing truly why something is happening and what's being done or being done to them. So it's not actually the change itself. Very few people say, I refuse to use Microsoft Word because typing is not something that I want to do. That's not usually what is happening. What's happening is it's being pushed on them and they don't understand why it's happening because there's no clear communication. Oh, wait, did we have that one? Communication. Oh, yeah, there it comes again. So people don't understand why this is happening and it feels very personal. And then they don't want to do it because when we're not comfortable, we dig our heels in. So leadership has a lot of responsibility there. Believing that the training's not going to solve the problem. Yeah, because it usually doesn't. Attitudes. Oh yeah, we got a lot of attitude in this group. Ignorance, impact of decisions. Yeah, there's a lot going on here, and all of this is valid. All of this we see when training programs are not connected to reality. And then bureaucracy. You come up with an idea, you identify that people need training, and then nobody signs off on it, or nobody wants to talk about it, or nobody wants to figure out the budget. And then you feel deflated and you don't want to do it. So all of those things, so thank you everyone for not letting me sit here with nothing on my screen. All of those things are super important and have to be addressed. So how learning actually takes hold. Because remember, I said it's not a mandatory training program, right? I mean, if we think back to when we were children, has anyone ever said, "Oh, that sounds amazing, teacher," when you didn't want to do something? No, we don't change as adults. We're still going to resist the things that we don't want to do because they don't make sense to us. But learning sticks when we need it, when the work needs it. Okay, when you need to learn something, then it sticks. It sticks when people see why it matters, and it sticks when leadership is behind it, not abdicating responsibility and saying, yeah, you guys can go do training. That's fine. Whoever wants to go do something just because somebody said it's fine. And if these three things aren't there at the fundamental base, then the rest is lost. Okay. So before you train, get clear on three things. Uh-oh, I'm going to say it again. Name the problem. It's a theme with me. So name the problem. What needs to change and how far are we from that goal? Okay. Know what's needed, what skills are going to support that change, what's going to make a difference, and then defining what better is. What is going to be better about us as an organization, as a team, as individuals if we do this? What does better look like? Now, I told you at the beginning I was going to talk to you about a technique that I use to do this. And I use a technique called liftoff. If you're not familiar with it, Google is your friend in this case. Please do a bit of research. But it is a team onboarding on steroids. It's not a PowerPoint kickoff by any stretch of the imagination. And the middle layer on alignment, we talk about who we are as people and what we're contributing to the team. But we also talk about what the team needs to be successful, whether it's resources, skills, training, whatever it might be. What does the team need to be successful? And then we do a gap analysis. Okay, we have our logons, but we don't have access to Teams. We have this, but we don't have that. And part of that is identifying what skills we have and what skills we don't have. And I had an organization that went through this liftoff and they identified There were areas where everyone had the skills. There were areas where some of the more senior people had them and the more junior people didn't. And there were things where, because it was a whole new way of working, they all felt a little wobbly on certain things. And from that, they themselves put together their own internal team training program. And what they did was, the things where the senior people had experience and the junior people didn't, they kind of did power hours and they trained each other. Where there were skills that someone in the company had, but the team didn't have, they went out and they asked people to guest speak in their training time. And then they put together a program for that. And then the things where they just didn't have an internal resource, they put together a program for training. Okay. At the end of that, they gave themselves a time box. At the end of that, they went through and they assessed, okay, now here's where we were. Where are we now? Have things improved? We've had training, but have we learned the things that we need to learn to completely develop and move to the next level as a team? And I see in the chat, what's the difference between learning and training? So we can send everyone to a class and give them information. That's training. That does not mean we have learned anything. Even if we memorize everything that we were taught, even if we're able to come back and say A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and we're able to recite everything that we were taught in that training, that doesn't mean that we necessarily had learning. We've received information. It's learning when we're able to do something with that information. So hopefully that answered the question. That was a good question, because oftentimes we use the things very interchangeably. We say learning and development, we say training department, and everybody kind of, thinks they mean the same thing, and that's okay. But at the end of the day, the learning is the important part. Sending people off to the training isn't the important part. What is the return on investment, which is your learning, is the important part. Okay, hopefully that makes sense to everybody. All right, so before anybody is scribbling or writing a note to their boss or doing something, you can't undo, keep this simple. This does not mean we have to stop, have brakes screeching, come to a, oh my gosh, the world is falling apart moment and make some complicated training plan, because I guarantee you it will fail. Okay. So keep it simple. You don't need a heavy framework. You don't need a 30-page document. You don't need any of that stuff. So just chuck that in the bin. If your organization does that for every decision they make, don't do it. Resist. Chuck it in the bin, because it doesn't work. You need clear goals. Okay, there she goes again, saying the goal word. The right support and the time to implement it, because you can make a huge plan where, okay, we now know our vision and mission, and that means everybody's has to have all this training and we have to be able to implement all these things. No, you don't, because the reality is you're not going to have the time to do all of that. You've got to create the time. So there's a lot of upfront work that has to happen to make changes in how we do learning and development. And then small, steady actions. Maybe all you can manage right now is to take those hideous mandatory training programs and make them a little bit better. Change how you do them. Instead of making everybody watch a video that's 10 years out of date, have a discussion and learn that way. Maybe that's all you can do right now. Maybe because you don't have a huge budget, you don't have a lot of time, you don't have the buy-in from everybody that you need, or the bureaucracy is too big. So make small changes and say, you know what? Those videos are useless. We know we have a legal responsibility to do these mandatory trainings, but we're going to do them in a different way. And we're going to see if maybe by changing the delivery format, we can actually have learning. We can internalize some of it. So do something small. You don't have to revolutionize the entire department on Monday morning, because you're going to get exhausted, burn out, and you're not going to see results. All right. So that simple way, they're like, oh God, she said a lot, but a simple way to do it. Assess where you are. So remember, if you think back to the group that did the liftoff, they noted it down on a virtual whiteboard. This is where we are right now. Okay. Set your value-based goals. Okay. What do we want to, who are we? What's our identity? And how are we going to do that? What is that? Decide the strategy. I really do recommend the goal setting way of doing it, because we set the goals and then how do we achieve the goals? And then you don't have to come up with some big complicated strategy. It's pieces and you can, it's building blocks. You can put them together. Then gather what you need. Okay. You might get stopped right there at step 4, because you may not, one of the things you might need is 5 hours a week. And you may not be able to find those right now. So you may have to say, okay, we don't have 5 hours, we have 2 hours. And that means we can do this little part right now, but we're going to start working with leadership to try to find those 5 hours. And we're going to be clear on why we need those 5 hours. Okay, so don't get deflated if it doesn't all come together all at one time. Then set a timeline. We're going to try this for 30 days. We're going to try this for 1 quarter. But set a timeline, because you need to come back and, number 6, not only track your progress, but evaluate. And if something isn't working, don't keep doing it. Okay, it's kind of like back to that standardized mandatory training. We just keep churning out the same rubbish and not assessing that it doesn't work. Okay, so you see where the cycle is of knowing where you are and knowing where you want to go, and then talking about whether or not you got there. And you just keep going around through that process and refining. It's continuous improvement and continuous learning. And by doing that, we're creating a learning culture. Okay. And then track what matters. Leaders are notorious for tracking things that don't matter. And they do it because they don't feel secure about where they are in their journey and where the organization is. And so it becomes this kind of bureaucratic exercise in just writing the plan. And then it becomes a reporting exercise instead of a tracking exercise. Okay. So it needs to be outcome based. What are we trying to achieve? One of the things that we do in our training programs is we give everyone the objectives. And at the end of the program, everybody puts their takeaways. For that objective, what did I get out of that? How can I use that information? What did I learn? And then we give them a tool wherein, depending on their timelines, 30 days or 90 days, they can track, they can check in and see, how are we doing? Okay, we said we were going to do this training because we needed to learn this. And now, how are we implementing it? Has that come to fruition? Or did we get back and the minutia of the day get ahead of us and we forgot about it and we need to revisit it? But we give a way to track those outcomes. The gap awareness that we talked about. Where are our gaps? Is the gap closing the more that we work on these things? Or is the gap still wide open? If so, we might be doing the wrong things. Real world things. We don't need to go to basket weaving if our company builds trucks. Okay, not useful. So are we doing real world change? Excuse me. And then continuous improvement. So I think there was a question about, you thought 4 would come before 3. Let me see if I can go back. So if you don't know what your strategy is, you don't know what you need. Okay. Now, if the very beginning of this, you say, we don't have time to do any of this, you probably don't need to do even step 1. But you have to know what your strategy is to know what it is that you need. And you might go back and forth on those and adjust your strategy when you realize, okay, we don't have everything we need to do this, but you need to know what it is you want to try to do. So that was a good question, because yes, you could see where maybe I need to say, oh, I have these things and this is what I can do. But you don't want your strategy to be driven by limitations. Okay, then we put our limiting beliefs ahead of what we actually want to achieve. Okay, and then this one's important. Show the impact. People need to see that what they're doing has value and is recognized. So share the wins, share what improved, even if it's something super, super small. Hey, book club did this and we got through, we learned that we could try this one little thing. Share your wins, even if they're small. And also share what you still need to work on. Be transparent about it. Okay. So make it safe to try things, equip managers to coach, make learning easy to access, and celebrate progress. That's kind of the roll up of all of that. Normally, when you track outcomes, it becomes difficult in the short term. Don't you think starting with outputs and then outcomes is a better way? I never suggest starting with outputs because outputs just become a tick list. Oh, we did a training, check. Oh, we created a report, check. Okay, so you always want to focus on your outcomes. Outputs are going to be part of how you achieve that, but you always, always, always want to focus on outcomes. Always, or you will lose sight of what it is that you're trying to do because you're going to be constantly ticking off your outputs. Okay, what gets teams stuck? Because we are running out of time. I can go on about this for days, by the way. Jumping straight into training courses. Somebody saw something on Facebook ads. A CEO went to a conference. That's the end of everybody. When the CEO goes to the conference and gets ideas, somebody had a beautiful PowerPoint that looked amazing. There was a study a while back that most departments choose training because of how flashy the presentation is, not because the company has any real skills at delivering or creating the outcomes that they need. It's all about the presentation. So be careful. Ignoring individual needs and saying, oh, the company needs this and the team needs this, and I don't really care that Bob needs something else because this is how he learns and how he wants to work. We need to go through, remember, all our layers: organization, department, team, and individuals. And then no feedback. Okay, from both sides. The company's not asking the employees for feedback on the experience, and vice versa. There needs to be feedback. Those feedback loops are critical. And then no follow through, saying we're going to do something and then it never materializes. It just kind of falls short. So here are your next steps. Before I give you like the big next steps, here are the small next steps. Ask one team a simple question. What's the skill that would help you most right now? One skill. What's one thing that would help your team upskill right now? Talk with one leader. Okay. Confirm their top priorities for the team. Because oftentimes what one says are the priorities and the others are not always the same. And then review one training program. Find one thing that your company is doing and see if it's actually giving you any results. And if it's not money well spent. So do you see, start small. Not, we're going to just throw the whole program out and start over again, everyone. No, start small. Baby steps, okay? And if you think about babies, if we're going to use that analogy, when they start to walk, they kind of like toddle along. That's why they're called toddlers. They toddle along. They don't necessarily hit their max stride until they're well into maybe 7, 8, 9 years old, right? They're still their gait is a bit awkward. Yours is going to be the same way. You've got to start small. We got to make those first baby steps. All right. Which action, I'm asking you to get back in the participation mode again, and we're almost finished. Which action are you most likely to take in the next 30 days? Which action? Audit one program, meet with a business leader, identify capability gaps, track outcomes, simplify or stop a training request that isn't aligned, use the ROI calculator to assess where you are. You're like, what ROI calculator? I'll give it to you, don't worry. Okay, what are you going to do in the next 30 days? And I'm giving you a little bit of time on this to answer because I did answer some of your questions in the chat already. Okay, we're going to audit a program. Okay. I'm going to tell you the easiest one is looking at the layers of your training. Incidentally, the most difficult one is for people to say no. They get a training question, you don't want to tell somebody they can't have training. So simplify or stop a training request that isn't aligned is one of the most difficult ones because no is one of our most difficult words. All right. What to remember? Alignment drives results. Clarity at each level removes guesswork. Simple plans stick. And real change shows up in outcomes. Okay? We are not trying to boil the entire ocean with this. Small steps. Okay? So here are some things I have for you. They're free. And I'll give you a QR code at the end that you can access them. I believe we're going to have a recording of this session that'll be available. I have over 300 blogs, videos, audios. I love writing things. And when people ask me questions, it usually ends up being turned into some kind of a content piece. They are all on my website. You will get beta access to our new Chief Clarity Officer, which is a GPT coach that we have been training for months now. And it also helps you find the resources so you don't have to sift through the 300 blogs that will help you with your questions. We have a training ROI assessment that you can do for your organization. I think it's 10 questions and you just ask and it gives you a score and it tells you where you are in your training journey and what things you might need to work on. We have webinars, we have mini guides. There's no end to the resources that we have. So those are going to all be available to you. This QR code that's on the screen will give you intro access to your culture readiness assessment, which has not necessarily everything about this learning and development program we had today, but it talks you through the steps of, is your organization even ready for any kind of change? Okay. And how do you get there? It's got all different kinds. It's got a 30-day plan you can use. It's got AI tools and prompts. It's got, different activities that you can do, how you make time to do all of these things, etc. And you can go check that out as well. So I hope that this was useful. I think we have a few minutes for questions that didn't already pop up in the chat, or if I missed one. But I hope that you all found this very, very useful.
Thank you so much, Indra, for this amazing and insightful sessions. I'm sure our participants have learned a lot. So we have few questions for from the participant of YouTube and LinkedIn. Let me just share you. Let me just pop up that question. So one of our participant wants to know what's one mistake companies often make when linking learning and development to business goals.
A quick story. I had an organization that found that more and more clients were asking for them to have agile capabilities. So they decided the solution was to have everybody trained in Scrum. So they spent a lot of money having all 100 employees to get their Scrum certification, which was no small feat to get everybody scheduled and through the training and then tracking their exams, only to have done this and then not put any of it into actual practice. So on paper, on the CVs, everybody had this certification, but that learning didn't get implemented, so it got lost. They went to the training and many of them were very excited about using it, but then the organization didn't support them using this way of working that their clients were asking for, and it got lost. So when it was time to renew their certifications, most of the people didn't bother renewing them. So the
Thank you so much.
misalignment, the misalignment there is knowing you have a need, but then going all in the wrong direction to try to achieve it.
Thank you so much for this detailed and thoughtful answer. So the next question we have, how can organizations integrate learning and development into their overall change management strategy?
I think the biggest thing that people can do is if you do that gap assessment of this is where we are now and this is where we want to go, because that's what change is, right? It's moving the bar of where you are. And if you incorporate what skills do we already have and what skills do we need to get to the level we want in that change, then learning and development becomes part of that strategy, because part of getting to the next level is going to be getting people the skills they need.
Thank you so much for this amazing answer. So the next question we have, which trend do you think into the learning and development will have the biggest effect on business result this year?
Which trend? Oh, this is like asking me what fad diet do I want to do. I think that rather than which trend is going to be more successful, I think which one is not is if every conversation we have is about AI, we are in the downhill spiral. And it is not because I don't believe in the use of AI tools. I use them almost every day with my clients in my own business. But if we keep focusing on the technology instead of on the people, we're going to spiral into the wrong direction. So we have to remember that people are behind every decision we make because people are behind the AI tools too. There's not a room of robots creating them. There are people there. So I think that if we get on this trend of every conversation has to be about AI, I mean, even me, I'm being asked to speak constantly. Well, yes, but you have to talk about AI when you do this. No, I don't, my friends. No, I don't. So if we keep getting on the trend of every single sentence has to have AI in it, and we forget that there are people involved in this, we are not going to succeed.
I completely agree with you on this point. And thank you so much for this answer. So the next question we have, how do you balance short-term business needs with long-term employee development goals?
So I would say that short-term business needs are actually part of long-term strategies, right? There might be immediate effect. But if we, and I'm not suggesting that every week we do something different because that's whiplash, right? But short-term goals, let's say we have a 90-day goal. That 90-day goal is rarely in isolation. It's usually a step in a longer goal. So if we remember that, the skills that we're developing for that 90-day goal are part of a bigger strategy of then we start layering things. So this comes back to our layering is understanding the vision and the mission, understanding how that short-term goal fits into the long-range plan. And then we're not doing development in isolation because the pieces all fit together like Legos.
Understood. So thank you so much for this amazing answer. So participant, as we are running out of time, so we'll not be able to take more question. I really apologize for that. So we are going to take the last question. And the question we have, Indra, from a participant from YouTube, that how do you keep employees motivated to engage with learning aligned to business outcomes? And what do you think, how can small wins in learning and development can really impact the bigger business strategies?
All right, that was a lot of question for the last question. All right, so how do we keep, let's focus on the motivated part. How do we keep people motivated? If our employees are part of the strategy from the beginning. So this is, I am assuming we are going to have a healthy culture here where we do not have top-down mandates where somebody says the board of directors has said ABC and thou shalt do ABC. And there's not any input or discussion. But if the employees are part of the how are we making these decisions about our vision and our mission, and how are we going to achieve it, then they are naturally going to be motivated to be part of the solution, and learning is part of that solution. So if I feel that I am part of the organization, I am not just an ad hoc employee number. If I truly believe that my contributions matter in the organization, then I am also going to be motivated to learn new things because that contribution will also matter. If you have a toxic organization where people don't really matter, then learning and development is the least of your worries and the motivation isn't going to be there regardless of what you do. But if employees feel that they are part of the whole, then they will want to do more to be part of the whole. The second part was, what was the second part again? Read that second question to me.
Yes. So the second question was, what do you think? How can small wins in learning and development can really impact the bigger business strategies?
Okay, so anytime that's the part where I said share what's happening, share that people are doing this, share the outcomes. If we know, okay, they went to this training or they went to this program or they went to a brown bag, whatever it is, it doesn't have to be something huge. And then we can say, and as a result, this has happened. Okay. We started a book club, and trust me, it was not, people were laughing and they thought it was a joke, and why do we have a book club? This isn't the girls' night out on Friday. But when they started showing what they were learning from the books they were reading and how they were implementing them into their strategy, and more importantly, because people can be very competitive, they were seeing that this team was doing things that other teams weren't doing. And they were getting accolades from the clients, they were getting incentive bonuses for achieving more. So if we celebrate those small wins, then we start to see everyone getting excited about the things that are happening because we are showing that it matters. We're not just celebrating when we win a $5 million contract. We're celebrating when we've had code that we've produced that has 10% fewer errors than the last time we did it. We're celebrating those small wins, and then that motivates everybody. It doesn't have to be a big grand gesture for us to celebrate something that happened.
Thank you so much for this detailed and thoughtful answer. I'm sure a lot of the queries had been cleared out. Now, participant, if you have any more questions, I have shared the Indra's LinkedIn ID into the chat box for your convenience. I have also shared the QR code visible on your screen into the chat box for your convenience. Do connect with Indra directly. And if you have any query, if you need any consultation, I'm sure Indra would be happy to help you. Right, Indra?
I am always happy to help.
So before moving forward, would you like to give any final comment?
I think I just want to reiterate that you don't have to chop down the entire iceberg, boil the whole ocean. We can use all different expressions to describe it, but don't try to fix everything at once. Start small, be successful at those small wins, especially if you're trying to convince leadership to change. They're going to be much more impressed if they see steady progress than they see this big, big effort that goes all crazy and haywire because it was too much. So start small and just chip away at the things, small, 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 because those small wins are going to be what get you the fastest move forward.
I completely agree and support your point over here. So I'm sure all of the participants are also agreeing with this. And thank you so much once again for this amazing and insightful session. So let's move on to the next part of the event. Indra, could you please
Yep.
unshare your screen? Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So participants, just allow me a minute to share my screen. So I just wanted to, before wrapping up the session, I just wanted to make a few quick announcements. So one of them is if you are ready to take your certification into the learning and development now. So the certification is now available onto the website. You can go into there and you can use the complimentary code which we give only to our participant, and the complimentary code will give you a 20% off for opting this certificate, and this is for a very limited time of period, so please make sure you're taking the advantage of it. And apart from that, as I tell this in every webinar, and I'm also seeing a lot of participants are now using this. That is making us very happy because we have invented this tool to make the participant who is especially in their job hunting journey even more easier, because in today's AI era, everyone take the help of AI. Recruiters and HR are also one of them. So they are now taking the help of AI screening system to screen your resume for sending the resume into for interview process. But that is also the reason that a lot of the resumes are getting rejected, because they are not according to the AI ATS screening system. So what you can do, you can take the help of utility tool. You can log in into utility tool by using your LinkedIn ID and password, and it will give you a recommendation according to the job designation you are targeting and the industry you are targeting. And we are also giving an exclusive complimentary coupon code to all of our participants that will give you 100% off for using this utility tool. So when everyone is taking the help of AI, why or not? Take the help of utility tool and make your job hunting journey even more easier and stand out your resume in front of the HRs and recruiters. And tomorrow we are going to have the session for GSDC AI implementation series from 24 to 28 November at 6:30 a.m. CST, 8:30 p.m. SGT, and 6 p.m. IST. We are also going to have the ISO session as well at applying ISO 4201 and ISO 2701 across industries at 24 to 28 November at 8:30 a.m. CST, 10:30 p.m. SGT, and 8 p.m. IST. And we are tomorrow also going to have the same session of learning and development at the same time at 8:30 a.m. CST, 10:30 p.m. SGT, and 8 p.m. IST. Tomorrow we will be having the Masha with us, and Masha is going to give the one more amazing session on a different topic covering into the learning and development. So I hope to see you all there as well. And now it's time to celebrate our referral champions. So we have Bhanu Durgesh, EBI, and Avnash Kumar. Thank you so much to all three of you for helping us simplify our initiative and reach it to the wider global audience. Keep the momentum going. So you can also be part of our referral championship. What you have to do, if any of your peers, colleagues, and professionals wants to join for this webinar or any of the other webinar, refer them the registration link, which you will find on our GSDC website. And every referral will earn you a point. And once you hit a $50 point, you will be able to get a free $400 worth gift certification voucher. So make the use of this offer. And if you want to be one of our speaker for learning capsules, for webinars, for podcasts, please make sure to reach out at pratibha@gsdccouncil.org. And these are the website where you can connect with us, our LinkedIn group, our website, our WhatsApp group. Also, we would love to hear your feedback. We would love to know your session takeaways and learning outcomes, or if you have any suggestions you want to give, how you felt after connecting with our speaker, how you felt the topic regarding we are covering into the learning and development. We would love to hear that, because your feedback and suggestions will help us improve our making learning journey for you even more engaging, dynamic, and fun. I'm sharing all of the links into the chat box so that you can get connected with us and stay updated regarding our upcoming events and trend. I have also shared the link of reviews.io. Please drop your feedback over there. And with that, it's time to come to an event. Thank you so much once again, Indra, for the amazing and insightful session. We are very honored to have you as our speaker, and we'll be looking forward to having you in the future as well. Thank you so much to all of the participants for joining into this learning journey. And I hope to see you all tomorrow as well. Till then, keep learning, keep energizing. Have a good day, good night, good evening, wherever you are.